At 74, Goldie Hawn has reached the point where silence no longer protects the truth. After 50 years in Hollywood, she is finally speaking about the people who tested her patience, betrayed her trust, and changed the way she sees the industry she helped shape. Viewers know her as open, warm, and generous. Yet behind that image are moments she never discussed until now. Some involved quiet disrespect, others cut far deeper. Today we walk through 5 names that left the strongest mark on her, and the final one reveals why she stopped giving certain people the benefit of the doubt. Number 5. Bill Hudson, the father who stepped away. To the world, Bill Hudson was the young musician who fell in love with a rising star. To Goldie Hawn, he became the man who stepped back when a family needed him to stay present. Bill Hudson was born in Portland in 1949 and rose to fame with the Hudson brothers before marrying Goldie in 1976. By the time they divorced in 1982, the distance between them had already taken root. What began as absence soon hardened. Bill accused Goldie of turning their children against him, claiming in one interview that she had willfully alienated Oliver and Kate. He said that once Kurt Russell entered their lives, the story shifted. His words were blunt: "I became the big bad wolf." For Goldie, that accusation reversed years of trying to rebuild stability for 2 young children. The turning point unfolded on a quiet Father's Day. Oliver posted an old photo of the 3 of them with the caption, "Happy Abandonment Day." That single moment broke whatever restraint Bill had left. He told reporters that he no longer recognized his children as his own. "I set you free," he said. "They are no longer a part of my life." The line stunned Goldie because it confirmed what she had lived for years. The father they reached for was not reaching back. Kate later described the estrangement as a 40-year issue. Goldie and her children believed they had been forced to build a new foundation, one shaped by Kurt's steadiness rather than Bill's retreat. Bill tried to counter that narrative in his book, 2 Versions, insisting he sent letters and kept trying. But the public saw his disowning statement as the clearest window into the fracture. The consequences never faded. Reports suggest he may be warming toward reconciliation, but the emotional gap remains wide. For Goldie, Bill Hudson became a reminder of how a parent can walk away and still expect the world to keep their name in place. Some betrayals come from silence. Others come from a single moment when a voice turns cold. The next story shows how quickly that shift can happen. Number 4. Andrew Denton, the interviewer who shut her out. To viewers, Andrew Denton was the interviewer who could draw honesty out of anyone. To Goldie Hawn, he became the man who walked away after one conversation that never found its rhythm. Denton was born in Sydney in 1960 and built his reputation through Enough Rope, a show shaped around depth and patience. He trusted that careful preparation would create trust on both sides. The satellite interview with Goldie broke that expectation. Denton later said it was the worst guest experience he had ever faced. The tone shifted as soon as the cameras were ready. Hawn appeared guarded. Her team added tension instead of support. Denton recalled her manager calling the show's producer the C word. That single moment changed the room. A professional exchange collapsed into something sharper and colder. The scene lasted only minutes. Denton tried to move the conversation forward. Goldie offered short answers. The pauses grew heavy, and when the manager repeated her hostility, Denton made the decision. "We never put it to air," he said. He ended the session and walked out of the studio, convinced that no edit could save a conversation that had already fallen apart. To him, the breach was simple. An interview is an agreement. One side opens up, the other listens with intent. When that balance breaks, trust disappears. Denton believed Goldie and her team crossed that line, not through scandal, but through resistance and disrespect that left the crew stunned. The consequences followed the story. Media outlets repeated Denton's account for years. Goldie Hawn remained the only interviewee he ever refused to broadcast. For Goldie, the encounter became a reminder that silence can cut deeper than argument, and the next name shows how tension can grow even without a single explosive moment. Number 3. Chevy Chase, the co-star who never softened. To the world, Chevy Chase was the quick, effortless wit who matched Goldie Hawn's warmth on screen. To Goldie, he became a reminder that charm in front of the camera does not always carry through when the lights are off. Chase was born in New York in 1943 and rose quickly from Saturday Night Live to major studio comedies, carrying a reputation for timing, sharp humor, and a confidence that often bordered on impatience. The public looked at their 2 films, Foul Play in 1978 and Seems Like Old Times in 1980, and saw harmony. They saw 2 stars delivering light romance and smooth humor. The Private Truth felt more strained. Long days, tight schedules, and creative pressure exposed parts of Chase's temperament comment that did not blend easily with Goldie's steady approach. His humor could be cutting instead of collaborative. His comments could unsettle rather than energize. What fans read as chemistry was, at times, two different work styles trying to coexist. The tension showed itself during a break on set. Chase tossed a joke toward a young crew member, a line that hit with more bite than charm. The room froze. Goldie watched the assistant lower his eyes and return to work without speaking. Chase shrugged, unaware or unconcerned. His response was simple. Relax, it was a joke. For Goldie, that moment captured the divide. What looked like humor to him landed as humiliation to others. It changed the way she saw the atmosphere around him. To understand why that shift mattered, consider Goldie's on-screen persona. Her comedic rhythm is warm, inviting, and generous. She believes in making a set feel safe, especially for the people who support the work. Chase's barbed humor created the opposite effect. Colleagues from other productions have described similar patterns, and those stories traveled. Goldie heard them. She recognized the tone. It shaped how she interpreted every long day beside him. Yet Goldie never issued a public condemnation. She has spoken warmly about collaborators and avoided feeding narratives that paint colleagues as villains. She acknowledged Chase's talent and the success they created together, but silence in interviews can reveal as much as any statement. She did not revisit the films often. She did not reflect on moments of shared growth. What remained was polite distance. The consequences were subtle, not explosive. Their conversations on set grew shorter. Their rehearsals became efficient rather than playful. The trust required for comedic instinct faded. Producers noted that the pairing worked on camera, but did not always click off it. That mismatch can feel small at first, then heavier as weeks of filming stretch on. For Goldie, Chevy Chase became an example of how temperament can shift an entire working relationship without a public feud or a dramatic rift. It showed her that betrayal does not always arrive through grand gestures. Sometimes it arrives through tone, posture, and moments that cut a little too deep. Fractured chemistry is one kind of loss. Creative control is another, and the next person on her list challenged that control in the most direct way possible. Subscribe for more videos that uncover the stories Hollywood never explains. Number 2, Harvey Weinstein, the producer who broke the deal. To audiences, Harvey Weinstein was the producer who turned prestige films into cultural events. To Goldie Hawn, he became the figure who stripped a role she had helped build. Weinstein was born in New York in 1952 and rose to influence through Miramax, shaping projects with a mix of persuasion and pressure. By the time Goldie and Madonna began developing their version of Chicago, he was already known for taking control of stories that were not his to shape. The public assumed development was moving forward as agreed. The Private Truth was different. Goldie and Madonna had secured a role that suited Goldie's age and stature. Then Weinstein commissioned a new draft that recast Velma as a much younger woman. The rewrite did not simply adjust tone or structure. It erased Goldie's place in the story. It pushed the project away from the women who had shaped it and toward a version built for newer stars. Goldie has described the turning point herself. She confronted Weinstein in a private meeting. Her words were clear. "Don't fuss with me." She told him that the rewrite was an act of undermining. The scene ended with tension so sharp that others in the room fell silent. Weinstein later paid her the sum she had been contracted to receive. Goldie viewed that payment as confirmation that she had been wronged and refused to be erased. The finished Chicago, released in 2002, bore no resemblance to the project she had helped develop. Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones led the film. The creative direction, tone, and casting had been reinvented. For Goldie, the shift was not just a lost role. It felt like her creative investment had been removed, replaced, and claimed by someone who used his position to redirect the work. This mattered because Weinstein's influence in Hollywood was rarely neutral. His power operated through leverage. Producers can make changes, but quiet rewrites that disadvantage an agreed partner reveal a different kind of motive. Goldie's account aligned with stories that later emerged when Weinstein's broader misconduct came to light. Artists recalled promises that dissolved, scripts reshaped to suit him, and careers bent by decisions made behind closed doors. The consequences stayed with Goldie. The experience reminded her that control in Hollywood often belongs to the person willing to take the most space in the room, not the one who nurtured the story from the start. It changed the way she evaluated collaboration and the trust she placed in powerful producers. Creative betrayal is damaging. Losing the vision of a film you believed in is something else entirely, and the next person on her list shows how a shared dream can fall apart even after the cameras begin to roll. Number 1. Jonathan Demme, the director who walked away. To audiences, Jonathan Demme was the filmmaker who blended compassion with craft. To Goldie Hawn, he became the collaborator whose vision collided with hers until the work they built together fractured. Demme was born in New York in 1944 and rose through the independent world with a reputation for sincerity and ensemble storytelling. When he joined Swing Shift in 1982, he believed he was shaping a wartime drama grounded in emotional truth. The public expected a polished studio romance. The Private Truth was more complicated. Demme imagined a story about women entering factory work during the Second World War, a film driven by solidarity, sacrifice, and the moral complexities of homefront life. Goldie, as star and producer, was meant to help protect that vision. In the early stages, they worked in steps, scripts were refined, casting locked in, the tone felt clear. Everything changed the day the first cut screened for the studio. Demme watched as executives and Goldie reacted with concern. They feared the film felt muted, too grounded, not built around the chemistry they saw between Goldie and her. Co-star, what Demme hoped would be an ensemble piece began to shift. Studio notes encouraged more focus on Goldie. Additional scenes were proposed. The emotional balance of the story tilted away from the working women on the factory floor and toward a heightened romance. The breaking point unfolded in the editing room. Demme stood beside his editor as new footage arrived. Scenes he cherished were shortened. Storylines he believed revealed the heart of the film were replaced with moments designed to spotlight Goldie. She later said Demme's original cut made her look like this blonde extra who had been overpaid. Demme felt that comment confirmed the divide between their priorities. What he viewed as nuance, she viewed as a disappearance. His reaction was quiet but unmistakable. After completing reshoots he did not believe in, he walked away with his editor and removed the phrase, "a Jonathan Demme film," from the credits. It was a small gesture that carried more weight than a public confrontation. It said the movie no longer represented the vision he had committed to. It also said something had broken between them, something that could not be repaired by a studio note or a polished final cut. Goldie defended her choices as a producer. She believed she owed the audience a film that worked on their terms. She said the changes were simply an effort to find the right tone, but many writers, critics, and cast members later argued that the released version felt hollow, stripped of the ensemble spirit Demme had crafted. When Swing Shift finally reached theaters, it earned little attention and recouped only a fraction of its budget. For Demme, the disappointment was not financial. It was emotional. The consequences shaped the rest of his career. Demme later said he would only work with people he trusted deeply. The experience taught him how quickly a vision could be reshaped by power rather than purpose. It also revealed the cost of collaboration when two people believe they are protecting the same film but are, in truth, steering it in opposite directions.